Do you ever think what would it have been like if you met your partner at a different time in your life? We've had that conversation multiple times because Tina and I wouldn't say we met later in life, but we didn't meet that early in life, right? We met, what,
At
30s?
the right age.
Yeah, we met at the right age. And we've had this conversation multiple times. And again, it came up recently.
This morning.
It came up this morning, actually. And we're like, oh, you know what? Let's do a podcast episode about it because maybe other couples have talked about it. Or if you haven't talked about it, we want you to think about what your life would have been like or would be like if you met your partner at a different time in your life.
Yeah, and in our case, probably earlier. How fun would it be if we had met earlier, like during our clubbing days, or if we met in school, or I don't know, wherever.
Yeah, and it also could be on the flip side, like maybe you're with your partner in your high school sweethearts or something.
Yeah,
and you can say to yourself, "What if I met my partner when I was 35?"
Your life would be totally different.
Big time. For us, Tina and I met. You were 30.
Yep, you were 31.
And I was
almost 32.
31. So we say to ourselves, like, I think the conversation it stems a lot from if we met earlier, we probably would have had kids a little earlier.
Got married earlier, had kids earlier, bought a house earlier, do all of that earlier. But how would we have survived?
I don't know.
As a couple earlier, like let's say we met as teenagers, would we be where we are today? You know, would our love have lasted through those days of like high school, the clubbing days, you know, school, like being in school, working on our careers? How would all of that have affected our relationship at the time if we met earlier, like if we were 18, 19 years old? Because I look back and like the guys that I dated at that age, I'm like, I don't think I would have seen myself marrying them at that time. But maybe you and I, if we would have met earlier, who knows? Maybe we'd still be together today, or we wouldn't be. We would be with other people.
You know what? It's funny because I find we go through these stages of life, right? And maybe there was a time in your life where you were just like, your main focus was your career, and I got to get my career going. Yeah. And if you're with your partner that you have now, you had to give each other a little more space, and then you're in your 30s, you're a little more settled. For us, honestly, if you want me to be completely transparent, I don't think we would have made it.
I know you say that all the time when we have these conversations, and I don't know why you're so certain that we would not have worked out.
Maybe it's unfair to say I'm 100%.
Because you don't know anything for 100%.
That's true, and I think we have such a solid foundation that we would have found ways to work around it. But here's my little thing, and I've brought this up to you before. I know how.
We are,
babe. You like spending time together, a lot of time together, and being with each other.
I've been told I am clingy.
No, but it's a good clingy, and I can be clingy to a certain degree too. I like being with you.
You do actually. That's a great quality, and I love that about you.
The thing is, with our relationship and our experiences, when you were in your mid-20s. I was in my, so let's say you were 25, you were finishing your master's and all that. I would have been 26 or 27, and I was working like evenings. So I was working, I'd leave to go to work at like 5:30, and I'd be home at 1 a.m.
Right.
And then, you wouldn't have liked that.
I probably wouldn't have
hated it.
Week after week after week, I probably would have hated it and felt like I was not in a relationship on weekends.
You would have hated it, but then the weekend rolled around, and I was working all Sunday afternoon.
Oh right, yeah, that was you during the week. Okay, yeah.
So then I would most likely do fill-ins for Saturday afternoons, and so I'd maybe have a Friday night in there and a Saturday night if I didn't have anything.
Hate that. I would hate that. I know myself.
So there was a little period there between the ages of 24 and 30 where I used to work weekends like crazy, host events. I was DJ. I was always working a shift.
It's because of the line of work that you're in. But see, I worked a lot too in my 20s.
No, you worked your ass off. I know.
And I worked, and I started working my job in social work at 25, and I would work like from 7:30 in the morning, sometimes till 5, 6 o'clock at night.
You had more normal hours.
I had normal hours, whereas you have the odd shift, like evenings and like weekends, or like the nights that you used to work on Saturdays at the club.
Yeah.
You know, what time would you get home? Like 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. Like,
and it's not to say that you're not understanding. It's just I know. I have a strong feeling that would have bothered you after a while. It would have took a toll.
I'm even admitting it now, and I know that it would have bothered me then. It would bother me now. God bless the couples that are able to do it and to survive through it. Great.
I think
if that works for you, fantastic. But I think for us, it would be challenging.
yeah.
I would hate it. I'd be so impatient, and it would put a lot of strain and struggle in our relationship. Hence, I don't even know if we would make it to being married, let alone
because babe,
having kids, or I don't know.
We see every couple has a different style, and God bless. And if you make it work, you make it work. We know couples who they don't have to even spend that much time together, and they've been together for 15 years.
And that works for them.
That's fine. No judgment.
No, at all.
For us, we do a lot of things together, and I know that, and it would have bothered me too that I wouldn't have been able to be with you. I can't just blame you. It's not fair. But to be working all those shifts, and I would have expected you to be understanding. I would have understood.
Imagine if it was the flip side. That I had your job and you were in my shoes, it probably would have bothered you too. That I was never home, or I wasn't home when you were home, or right?
Yeah, because imagine working all day. So you work all day, and then your partner, your spouse, goes to work like basically when you get home, so you don't see each other.
Exactly.
So that takes a lot of toll on relationships. That's
absolutely.
And imagine I wouldn't have been able to be there for the Sunday lunches.
Oh, the famous Italian Sunday lunches.
I would have missed all that.
Dinners as a family. Yeah.
I was doing overnights at one point. I did overnights for almost a year. Midnight to 5:30. I would sleep. I was grumpy. I hated it.
And for part of that, weren't you with your ex-wife?
Yeah, she was around when I was doing. It's true. I was doing.
You were just started your job at the radio station.
Yeah.
And
I don't know how we made it. Yeah, look.
Well, you didn't make it.
But it is fun to think of, like, and even how the world was at a different time. Like, to think back, if it's a shame that we didn't get to experience a time where, like you mentioned, we didn't get to go clubbing together. We think back to the amazing things that we experienced, our age group,
and how fun it would have been if we were dating at the time and been able to experience those days together. Like, sometimes you talk to me about when you used to go to Dome, and I was like, maybe I was there that night, but I don't remember if I was. And like,
I mentioned we go over the course of the timeline.
Of course we do.
And we were at Le Boom a lot. And those of you who are familiar with this club on Stanley, if you're listening and you're from Montreal, right under
that club. Yeah. Shipper.
That's how everybody knows where it is. That was like the IT club, and we had a lot of mutual friends. So I used to see who you were with, and we were literally at the same bar, but I think it was such a big bar, we were on opposite sides.
Yeah, but I wasn't looking at you because I either had a boyfriend. I had a boyfriend at the time, and ironically, he was friends with guys that you grew up with from the same town. You played hockey with them.
I would say hi to them and what's up.
Say hi to them. Like, you were very friendly with them. They weren't your clique that you hung out with, but they were still guys from the town that you and I grew up in, the city we grew up in. And how crazy would it have been if we would have met back like when I was like 18, 19 years old and I was clubbing a lot. You too. Obviously, you lived at the clubs.
I know. It's a shame we didn't get to experience that. We didn't get to experience going around movies together.
Oh yeah,
and that is such a
I don't even think I did that with my ex-boyfriend at the time either. It would be like we'd go to the theater and watch a movie, but not rent movies. I think they were already like going out of style then.
But you were also living at home.
I was living at home.
That's
we
why.
both were.
That's
so were
why.
you.
Yeah, no, but I lived in my apartment at one point.
When you were in your 20s.
Yeah, when I was with my ex, and we used to go rent movies, and I find that such like a couple thing that we did, you know, and even like having a pager and stuff.
Pager.
Like a pager and the girl I dated in high school, she would page me like a code or something.
Didn't you get a paged once like 90 something times?
Oh yeah, that was from another girl. That was the whole other experience. But it's a shame though, and I don't know if I'd say it's a shame. It's fun to think of like all the amazing things we got to experience in our childhood, like our age group, right?
But even like text messaging started created when we started going clubbing.
That's true.
And flip phones, and you don't see those anymore.
No, I know.
And like literally texting starting back in the early 2000s.
Like, we also didn't get to experience as a couple, like me calling the house. And
and asking for me, or my dad answering the phone.
I know, and that was always like something that we, that give you anxiety, right? You have to call the house, and you were like, please, I don't want the mom to answer, and please don't be the dad. Please don't be the dad to answer. Hello. Oh my. Hi, can I speak to? I hated that.
Really?
So, well, I was good with parents.
Yeah, of course. I could see you being really good with
but
parents.
I always hope
still are.
I always hope that the mom answered, just so I can like casually say something.
I could so see you having a conversation with my mother on the phone, like spending like half an hour on the phone, and then finally her passing the phone to me. So that we could talk.
And it's funny, and that's how parents developed relationships with whoever their kids were dating, because they had to go through the parents. They had, there was more, and maybe it does happen today, but more of like a respectful thing where you had to go to the house.
Yeah.
And I find that's all lacking a bit now.
I think so.
Hey?
And I don't even want to know what's going to look like once our kids are that age, start dating, and
like, will
what
they
it's
even
going to look like.
Yeah.
Will we even know like their friends? Will we know like the guys that they're dating?
And will they be clubs? Like, how is the club
No, first of all, how is the club industry going to survive after this pandemic?
Yeah, I know.
Like
and the bar industry.
What is it
like,
going to look like?
It's changing so much. Like, I know now the generation now, from what I understand, it's like going to a club, you can't be overdressed, or otherwise they won't let you in.
Wow.
Like,
there was a time when we were clubbing, like we had to make sure we were dressed to the nines.
Yes.
We would go out and buy new clothes.
No jeans allowed in the club.
No jeans allowed. We make sure we have the heels on and the hair done and the makeup. Like, I would go to my mom, I need a new outfit for Saturday night. I'm going to a new club. Like, it was so exciting to like
look forward to it all week,
look forward to it. And then there's girls today that like go with flip flops to clubs.
Yeah.
I'm like, but how are you allowed in? Back then, we weren't allowed in if we weren't dressed a certain way. Like, if a guy would show up in flip flops and like bathing suit shorts, like he'd be turned away.
It's the opposite mentality.
It's so sad. It's
I
so
know. But look, it's just every generation has their things.
Thing, of course.
So
I get it.
It's different. I just do wish sometimes how like life would have been. I guess watching This Is Us too plants that seeds.
It does. It does. But I think sometimes, like, if we did experience all these things together, we'd have stories to tell our children about, when mommy and daddy went to that club, or like, when mommy and daddy did this when they were in their 20s, and how different it is today. I don't know, it just kind of been cool that we could have shared those common experiences with our kids, but we kind of still do, because like, we went to the same clubs.
Yeah, we're maybe a bit of a unique situation.
I think we are, and you enjoyed it as much as I did.
Of
you
course.
Experienced it though a little bit more than I did, because you also worked in the club scene. Your brother as well. He worked with one of our renowned DJs in Montreal. So you were more involved than I was. I don't know. I think I spent a good chunk of my early 20s just studying.
Yeah. Well, listen, you were making a career for yourself. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It's just it's fun because when you watch a show like This Is Us and the way they go back in time, and then or if you watch a movie like Back to the Future, you can see how the future is altered a little bit by somebody going ahead of time or back in time and changing the future a little bit. Yes. So it's fun to think of that.
Yeah, it is. Isn't there like a scene in Back to the Future where they're going to like 2020 or like
it's 2015.
2015, which has already passed, and we can.
Yeah, they thought there was flying cars, babe. They're way off.
There's no flying cars.
They're way off. But it is fun to think of what could have been and how different things are now. And I'm happy that there was no social media back then too, because
true, no social media, no online dating sites, no dating apps.
Yeah, it's changed a lot.
What would we have done? Like, even when I was single, like before I met you, I considered going on a dating app, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, so I got off. I went on for like maybe a day, and I got off, and I was like, I've always met men in person.
But that's not how it goes now.
But it doesn't go that way. But yet I met you in person, so clearly that style still worked for me, and it worked for you too.
Because we're old school.
Yeah, we're admitting it.
But babe, if we were to separate, knock on wood.
No. Even though I had a dream the other night that we got divorced, and I was like, no, please.
How did we get divorced? What did I say?
I don't know. I think we were. You asked me. You told me you wanted a divorce, and in that dream, I think it was like this weekend here. It's a long weekend. I'm like, no. Let's just give ourselves the weekend to work through things. And I love you, and I really want to be with you. I want to be married to you.
You probably pissed me off. That's probably what happened.
Yeah, so I'm like, I did not like that dream. I woke up and I was like, this is a nightmare.
But babe, if we were to break up, a lot of people now, they meet through apps. You would have to adapt to it.
Yes. I think here we are. It's almost 5-6 years we're together. 6 years?
Something like that, yeah.
Like 6 years.
I lost track.
Yeah.
Feels like 100.
I've seen successful relationships come out of dating sites and apps, and I would so be willing to try it out.
Because now that's how people communicate. Like that's how there would be a guy interested in you. He wouldn't even call you. He would just text you.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes. Like it's changed a lot now, and we're kind of not up to speed on that because we've been together for a while, so we don't have to worry about it.
Remember the night I ran into you at the Roxbury?
What do you mean you ran into me?
Well, I remember I was outside the club. I was waiting to get in, and
I wasn't with you at the time.
No. You were with your ex at the time, and I was with my girlfriends, and I'm like, hey, there's cousin Vinny. I think we said hi to you or something. And
I don't remember.
And my friends actually remember me turning around, telling them that I knew you and how hot you were.
Really?
Yeah, they keep reminding me, but I don't remember saying that about you, but they do. They're like, Tina, you just kept saying like what a good looking guy he is and how hot he is. But I'm like, I knew you were married at the time, so I didn't.
Interesting. See, no, but it's funny. First of all, thank you. But second of all,
shows my girlfriends loved you then too.
No, but that's interesting. You see how you were drawn to me?
I was.
It's almost like in life, and think of how you met your partner. Were you drawn to them, or did it take you time to
develop?
Because even when I met you the first time, like officially met you, even though we indirectly knew each other and as we were kids and stuff, but when I met you, there was just something that drew me to you. Where it's like I couldn't get you out of my head, and it was only for like we met for like a few minutes or whatever it was. I believe that exists. Like, I believe that there's a certain like chemistry that kind of happens. It's like, right? If you called, you were saying that then, and that was like 3 years before we met, right? What year was it? Like
about that, it was maybe about 3 years before we met.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
But it's all about timing. It's all timing. Things just have a way of lining up. And I don't know if you're like me. I'm a bit weird like this. Like I believe there's a timeline for your life of when these opportunities are going to come up. You just have to seize them. Like
seize the moment.
There's things that are kind of supposed to happen, and they'll eventually show up in front of you. But you better do something about it.
Even if you don't think that it's the right time, a lot of people say no, not now. But you should just jump on that opportunity. Like seize the moment, seize the day. Carpe diem, right?
Is that what it means?
Yeah.
Because I think that like we were supposed to meet when we met.
Yeah, you were just coming out of your marriage at the time, and you took a big risk being with, like, jumping into a relationship with me.
Yep, I did.
You didn't even have your papers signed. You literally, we were talking about getting married, and you hadn't even received your official like document that you were divorced. And we had our church reserved, we had our wedding date reserved.
Fuck, that was stupid.
I think you even bought the ring, or you bought the ring like just right after you got the paper in the mail. It went quickly. You were one of the lucky guys who. The filing of the divorce went so fast.
A lot of risks.
Months.
A lot of risks.
A lot of risks.
Man, I look back, that was crazy.
Hopefully it paid off.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. But it's just, I'm just kidding. Yeah,
but it's fun to reminisce. And I like the fact that when sometimes we sit down and we talk about like the experiences we had when we were, our teenagers, young adults, and we got to experience the same clubs that no longer exist now. Yeah. Who knows? Maybe they'll reopen in the future one day in the same style. But it's fun that we shared those memories, even though we didn't experience it together, as a couple or as friends. We could have even as friends, but we weren't.
We're also lucky that we're similar in age, because maybe there's couples out there. Maybe you're listening right now that there's a bigger age gap, so you didn't go to the same places, or you didn't experience the same TV shows in the same era of pop culture. Like my parents were like that. They were 24 years apart. You're coming from different generations. You lack a lot of that social commonalities that we all kind of have.
The music, the movies, everything.
Like the references and stuff.
You
might say that's not a big deal, but I guess for us, we are lucky.
It's not a make it or break it in a relationship.
No, I think every relationship is different.
But imagine, we even have friends that are a couple of years older than us. Like one of my friends, she's 3 years older than me, and she loves New Kids on the Blocks. But don't you dare talk to her about Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, because there's like a 5-year difference. She missed the era.
Yeah, exactly. So even just in friendships makes a difference.
Anyways, it's fun to think if we only had a time machine to go back in time to see how.
But would we be together today if we dated then?
I don't know, man. That's a lot of more fights.
Maybe of course, maybe everything happened for a reason. And we met at the right time, and we both took that risk the night that we met to say, "Hey, here's my number. Let's go on a date." Yeah. And see where life takes us.
Yeah, you got to take chances too. You can't be so scared, because I know people when I met you, they're all like, "Well, how come you're not playing the field? How come you're not like dating, man? You were just married and in a relationship for 6-7 years. You can't really control when love's gonna find you." Right. Like, it would have been nice to have a year off to not to kind of like just
a year off. Do you want a year off now?
What I meant was
You want to take a break? Hey,
What I meant was,
I take the kids.
yeah, if things lined up, maybe. Anyways, I'll shut up now.
I
That
think
wraps
you're
up the
better
episode.
off,
Gotta shout out Stapler, our lovely sponsors. We love you. We actually made hamburgers with their mincemeat. It was
delicious.
Freaking amazing. Now we talk about their variety boxes all the time. This is meat delivered right to your house, to your place, vacuum packed. It can store up for 2 years in the freezer. It's so good. It's delicious. And we made delicious hamburgers. And not only do they have the variety boxes, and you can choose your own meats.
They have fishes, seafood. No,
it's great because you can also buy packed minced meat as well. For $65, you can get 5 kilos, and it's 1 kilo per bag, and it's all packed, and you stack that in the freezer, which is
stacks
nice,
nicely too.
Very nice. So check them out, steakpure.ca. You can check out their menu. They're on Instagram. I tag them all the time on my Instagram at Cousin Vinny MTL. I take credit for a lot of the meals, even though my wife Tina makes them.
Thank you. I'm glad you admit that.
Yeah, of course. And if you go to steakpure.ca on your first order, they'll knock off 10% just for listening to the podcast. Just type in Fast 10. It's that simple. Okay. Have a wonderful rest of the day, and thank you for listening.
And feel free to reminisce about your past.
Yeah, reminisce.
Be nostalgic.
Let us know. And we want to hear from you too. What do you think of the podcast? Feel free to drop a comment to us, DM us on Instagram, Facebook, write a review if you can. We'd appreciate that on Apple Podcasts. Yes. You can do that as well. You can listen everywhere, wherever you download your podcast, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify. There's so many different ways to stream our podcast. You can also listen on YouTube as well. You can subscribe to our channel. New episodes every Sunday night around 7 o'clock. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.